Guten Abend. It's USfanTV. I said that
Probably Guten Morgen, right?
in Germany it is Guten Morgen, but here in the States it is Guten Abend still. So um, this is USfanTV. We're a show where we talk about soccer as it relates to the United States, and we have a very special edition of USfanTV for you tonight, but not for this reason. As usual, we have Pat, myself, and he is Chris.
I am Chris.
And TJ's not the special reason either, but he's here.
That's just because I actually get done with everything around the house, so here I am.
But we do have a guy who runs one of my absolute favorite Twitter accounts. It's Austin from Bund Americans. Austin, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me.
So,
yeah, thanks for coming.
I just want to say, like, for the longest time after we started USfanTV, I would try to, let people know when different guys in Europe are playing. Mm-hmm. And I just stopped because at some point I was just retweeting you all the time because you're so good at it. And I was so far behind. I'm like, this is not what USfanTV's Twitter account is going to do. We're just going to defer to you. So if you ever want to know, anybody out there, when a certain American player is playing in the Bundesliga, follow this account because you will know because you're always on it. I don't know how you're able to do it, but you're always on it.
Yeah, I try to be.
Tell us about, before we get started, we're going to break down all of our guys in the Bundesliga and kind of figure out, where guys are going and who's succeeding and who's failing. But first of all, how did you start this account? Take us through it and why did you want to do it and what goes into it?
Yeah, so I had the idea for a while now, probably like 2 years, but I just finally this past summer just thought of finally doing it and creating the account. I just wanted to, give people, insight into Americans playing, in the Bundesliga, in the two Bundesliga in Germany. And I think the best way to do that is to provide, updates every game for who plays, who, scores, who assists, and just keep people updated that way. And I picked kind of Americans in Germany just because I feel like there's a lot more Americans abroad in the, country of Germany. So it was an easy kind of place to go to. Also, I'm a Dortmund fan as well. So
nice.
That helped maybe sway my decision. But yeah, that was basically the decision behind it. And then every week doing the updates, it's basically just seeing what games go on every weekend, and then just searching up on Twitter each team, finding their team sheet for that game, and then just tweeting out who starts and who doesn't, who plays well, who doesn't play well. And yeah, it's fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is kind of, 10 years ago, we probably would have said the Premier League, but right now the Bundesliga is where it's at for definitely. Americans abroad, I think. So,
yeah.
Were you a Dortmund fan before Christian Pulisic?
Yes. So I actually got into Dortmund. I actually got into soccer kind of recently through FIFA. I feel like that's a lot of people nowadays my age. So, yeah, Dortmund was one of the first teams I really played with on FIFA. Really grew to like Mario Götze, especially in real life when he was killing it that one year when they went to the Champions League final. Just loved watching him and really, grew akin to Dortmund. So, yeah, that's where my love for Dortmund comes from.
Have you been yet? Have you been to Germany to see a game?
No, I have not actually. No, I got to do that.
Yeah, that's I would agree.
Yeah, you got to go be a part of the yellow wall, right?
You got to see the yellow wall.
Yeah, very true.
Should we start with Mr. Pulisic then, since he's kind of the poster child for Americans playing in Germany? How are we feeling about him these days?
Yeah,
I've been trying to temper my excitement, especially since his production hasn't been huge this season.
Right,
but when you the eye test, when you actually see him on the field, he looks better than ever. Incredible when he is playing. Last couple of games, he's come off the bench. But should we expect to see more from him at this point? Has this been a disappointing season for him? I know it has for his teams, especially in the U.S. But for individually, are we disappointed in Pulisic this year, or is this just part of the deal? What do you guys think?
I would say it's a little bit disappointing. I know I was expecting more from him coming off of a good season last year. I think a good first season in that first team. But yeah, he's a young player, so obviously there's always going to be some growing pains. But I feel he's kind of just hit that wall right now, and he kind of needs a mental break somewhere along the way, or just take some time to really think about how he's approaching the game. I feel like a lot of players on teams that he played against have kind of figured out his game. He likes short, quick passing. He likes taking players on in one-on-ones. So I think he might need to maybe change his approach on the field a little bit, and maybe mature more as a player going forward, and maybe they'll help him regain some of that form. But I wouldn't say I'm super concerned yet. And like I said, he's young, and we know what talent he has. I don't think he's the next Freddie Adu or anything.
I mean, he's 19 still.
And
he's
right.
producing.
There have been a lot of changes with the team too. So it's not like it's not like everything stayed the same and his form fell off or something. There have been a lot of changes, which I think probably affect the pressure on the team, so affect maybe how you have to play. So I think there could be there are probably outside forces to that you can sort of put I don't know, some blame on there as well. I don't think it's just that he's maybe not performing at the level we'd hope for.
Well, to piggyback off of that, Chris, I think you're right. He's being asked to do more at this point because of all the changes. He's being asked to do a lot more. And I think the other part of it is, even though he's only 19, it's kind of like, I'm going to use a baseball analogy. The pitchers have kind of figured out him as a hitter. Now he's got to go make some adjustments to his game so he's not the same predictable. And add that up, being asked to do more, and he's a known commodity at this point. Therefore, he's easier. There's enough footage of him to scout. There's things like that. So he's got to adjust his game accordingly to continue to have the presence on the game that he's had.
Yeah, plus the standard is himself at this point. I mean, if you had in a vacuum told us that there'd be a dude with 3 goals, 3 assists, is that where he's at right now? Yeah,
I think it's 4 goals and 3 assists. Don't quote me on that.
But if you had given us those stats for a 19-year-old American in the Bundesliga 2 years ago and let us know that this would be like, we would have freaked out. And so to say that we're disappointed is only because he had been so good that we started to stretch our expectations for him a bit. But no, he's fine. I think he's considering he's had 3 managers in the last year. It's been I think he's doing all right.
And with the way they bombed out of Champions League, you have to say on the whole, no one from Dortmund's had like a fantastic season. You can't really put anyone up there. It's just like, oh no, he's just been lights out. I think to some extent they've the entire team has regressed this year.
Hey, that sounds like Arsenal.
Arsenal has more than regressed.
That's every year right now, though.
Yeah.
A guy who is recently back to the team, Weston McKennie. I was excited to see him in the Chicago Sun-Times recently. Saw a photo of him, got excited, and then it was because a guy was masturbating in the stands in Berlin.
And the craziest part was it wasn't you.
Thanks. That's what it takes. Although, you know what I thought? Since I'm going to be there in a few weeks, the guy probably had my seat. Just sick.
He left his mark for you.
I don't want to know. I just don't want to. I just want to be oblivious to it. Hopefully it rains. Yeah. I was excited to see his photo in the paper, and then that's the reason why, because it was the photo that accompanied that story. So, but still, he's back after his injury. Again, I think anything we get from him this season is a pleasant and very cool surprise. But he's, it's just great to see him there, I think.
Yeah, and it looks like Domenico Tedesco trusts him, Schalke's coach there. He literally returned to full team training, I believe, late last week, and then to be in the 18, and then to come on when the game's 1-0 and Schalke are up. Just to see that the coach trusts him in that situation to finish the game, I think that shows, where he sits in that team in terms of how important he is to Schalke and to their coach. So I think, going forward, I hope we can see him start some more games. I think we'll definitely see him start some more games towards the end of the year because they got to find a replacement for Leon Goretzka, who's not going to be moving on to Bayern. And I think they want, Weston to kind of fill that role ideally. So yeah, like you said, anything we see from him this year is a plus. But I think we're going to get to see a lot more of Weston, towards the end of the year. That's exciting.
I'm excited to see him play, hopefully with Mr. Pulisic on the national team here in a few weeks too. So
yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, when you think about that, Schalke now being in second place, we now have Americans getting meaningful minutes on like the second, third, and fourth place teams in the Bundesliga. Not even counting all the guys on other teams in the league, but at the top of the league, potentially all gaming for Champions League spots next year.
Yeah.
It's not something we're used to. That's for sure.
If only Julian was still at Bayern.
Julian.
Yeah, right?
You wouldn't be playing.
But Chris, you kind of lead me into a question I'm curious to hear everybody's opinion on. Why the Bundesliga? What is it that, and so I get it, some of these guys are German born with American parents.
Yeah, there's kind of two crops of people here, but yeah.
But Pulisic is not, and I know Josh Sargent is not, and he's gone over
Weston
there.
McKennie's not, yeah.
But why the Bundesliga? What does Germany see in these Americans, or what do you think that is the reasoning is?
Well,
Germany plays young players.
Yeah, I think it's much like Josh Sargent himself said, and it's not German league, but like I think Shaq Moore said recently too about, I went to Europe because I might have felt too comfortable in the kind of youth U.S. system. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten the playing time. Maybe I would have not received the same challenges. Here I'm forced to get better. I'm forced to achieve, or I don't make it. So, in that sort of make or break position, there are guys who are going to succeed. And I think the players who are looking to do that, I think, one, it's a positive that we have more Americans who are looking to do that finally, and more that are getting selected to have the opportunity to. But then on top of it, the guys who are putting themselves in that position are, sure, some of them won't make it, but the ones who do, I think, are prepared then for a higher level of accomplishment across the board. Not just because, okay, you've made it through that hot water or whatever, but that you put yourself in a position to be challenged at the highest level, and you had to succeed, and you found a way. I think it does give the point that if you can make it here, in a sense, you can make it anywhere.
You gonna sing? You gonna break into song right now?
If
I can.
And speaking of, sorry, Austin, I'll throw this in. Seeing you're from New York or New Jersey, and might be a New Jersey Red Bulls fan. They are up 1-0 on Tijuana.
Oh yeah, I actually have that on in the background. I just how it looked. That's funny.
Yeah, they're up 1-0. So
who scored?
Bradley Wright Phillips.
Of course.
There we go.
Not an American, of course, as we talk about American soccer.
Yeah.
He's Ian's boy. He's still cool in my book. Yeah. Where else? I mean, should we go to Jonathan Klinsmann, a guy we didn't really expect to see playing in the Bundesliga? Where's he sitting right now with Hertha, and what do we expect to see from him in the future?
Yeah, so he actually got a start in one of their Europa League games earlier in the year. Actually played pretty well. Even saved the penalty towards the end of that game. But that's the only action we've seen from him at Hertha this year. But he's made the 18 a few times over the past 2 months. I believe it was only twice. So Hertha is slowly trying to integrate him into their first team. And, he's still young. He's only, I believe, 20 years old, maybe 21. And they also have two really experienced keepers right now. So I think it might be a little more time before we see him really gain minutes. Maybe next year in the Deutsche Pokal they might play him, but I don't think we'll really see too many more minutes from him this year.
It
looks good.
I wonder, is it better for a guy like that to be with a bigger club, training every day with a bigger club, fighting his way up, but not playing and knowing he's not going to play probably? Or is it better for him to be playing somewhere else where he actually is getting first team minutes? I wonder how long something like this can and should go on. If he doesn't see first team minutes next season, is it worth him going out on loan or leaving Hertha? In my view, this is fine for now. But,
I think it depends on the level of competition. I mean, if fighting for a chance here is, I don't know. I was trying to think of like a crappy second option for him. You know, if it's this, if it's between like this and college soccer, yeah, absolutely, this is better.
Right.
If it's between this and he could be playing, you know, in the Bundesliga 2 and you're potentially starting, then yeah, you know, you're probably looking at this as a mistake. But
and Chris, you know, you mentioned Bundesliga 2. Isn't that the route Bobby Wood took? I mean, he went down, had the 1 year with Union, and then he came back, and now is, you know, features usually prominently with Hamburg at the bottom of the table,
and he may be back in 2 again.
Is that a segue? Bobby Wood.
Yeah, it might as well be, right?
Not good.
No, really not good now. Especially with they just had a new coach come in, Bernd Hallerbeck, and he, you know, Bobby Wood started the first 3 games, I believe, of, you know, his coaching reign. It wasn't even in the 18 this weekend, so he went from, you know, getting froze out of the starting lineup with their old coach to getting new life with this new coach, and is now looks like he's fallen out of favor with this new coach. So it's really, really bad for Bobby Wood right now. He's only scored, I think, 2 goals this year as well in 20 games. So
yeah, and it sucks because for strikers, there's so much to do with confidence in there. You know, if they're not feeling it, basically, if they're not feeling the love, they tend to suck. And yeah, you know, he's kind of hit both walls there, where things aren't going well for him, and he's had negative things said about him in the press by you know, by the coaching staff before. So yeah, this is, I think, going to be a year he'll hope to replace in the memory bank.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like he's just very disjointed with that attack. It's more of like a mental thing, it seems, with him, because he's just trying so hard in the games that I saw recently of him just to create, be an option for players going forward, that he's just over committing to certain passes, or, you know, not getting to the space in the correct amount of time. His timing's off. So it's more of a mental thing with him right now.
And it's true that in so many instances, he's like been by himself basically. And when you're not in a good team anyway, that's not an easy thing to do. No.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I just wanted to say, yeah, I still believe in him. I think long term, I think he's shown, you know, his true quality for the U.S. I would say I've been fairly impressed with him every time he's played for the U.S. men's national team. So I don't want to jump ship on him completely as a player in his career. I don't think he'll be, you know, I was gonna say maybe Aron Jóhannsson, but now he's doing well. But you know, I think Bobby Wood has a U.S. men's national team future still, even though he's had a tough go of it here.
Okay, well, my first point was going to be that Hamburg is the one team that has never been relegated from the Bundesliga,
right?
Which is kind of the weird stat. They've been near the bottom for how many years now, and they still been close. But now the question is for you, Austin. Then would Bobby Wood be in a better spot to go back to Union, where he had success, to refine his form? I mean, kind of like a golfer that can't make a certain putt, but does on a certain, plays well on a course, play that course kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea now that he's really shown, even with this new coach, that it doesn't seem like it's going to work out at Hamburg. It's either going to be him, you know, going the Aron Jóhannsson way of trying to just keep fighting next year to gain that place, where it might be more beneficial for him, like you said, to go down to the 2 Bundesliga, find a club like Union Berlin, get, you know, consistent playing time, and kind of be the man for a team in that league, and rise back up again. Obviously, you know, the 2 Bundesliga is very weird, because you've seen teams like Paderborn, who were in the Bundesliga 3 years ago, fell to the 2 Bundesliga, and now they're in the 3 Liga in Germany. And you've seen other teams like Holstein Kiel, who was in the 3 Liga last year, and they're now, I believe, second in the 2 Bundesliga and could get promoted. So he could go to a team in the 2 Bundesliga that gets promoted next year. It's very, variable, and then he'll be back in the Bundesliga, maybe playing and playing for a team that he'll be playing good at, and a team that believes in him. So yeah, that would be a good route in my opinion.
And we should say too, this is part of it. Like, this is when we want guys to go to Europe, we want them to go to Europe because sometimes you struggle.
That's right. Yeah.
It should make you better. That's the idea. I would rather have Bobby Wood struggling for a short period of time, at least,
right,
in Europe than scoring a bunch of goals for Portland Timbers or something like that. This is good. This should make him better. Now, it can also destroy him if it goes on long enough. So, we wished and I'm with you. I don't think that he's done. I think he's a solid player, and I think he'll find his form again. So, much like, here's another segue. Aron Jóhannsson.
Yes.
I cannot believe he's back, and he just scored. Like, I really
the Iceman has recometh.
I can't believe that he's done this.
It's impressive.
It is. It really. I mean, seriously, he had a goal in, was it a Pokal match like a month ago?
Yeah,
and then just over the weekend he scored in
the game tying goal.
In the Bundesliga. So great for him. He was dead in the water as far as the national team goes 6 months ago, and now I would think he would get a call.
Yeah.
So
he might be the best striker in our pool on the form at the moment.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see. There's some other options out there, but yeah, I would probably go with him at the moment.
After all the jokes from after, he says that he's playing for the US because he wants to go to a World Cup and Iceland never would, and then Iceland goes to the World Cup and all the shit he had to hear. Good for him.
Even though he went to a World Cup with us, people seem to
true.
That is true. That is true. People, this is,
he made the plane.
It's fantastic for him. So, do we expect this to continue?
I think for the foreseeable future. I think he's finally
he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, that's
the one thing that's the one thing that derails it all with him. Yeah. So
yeah, but I think it's safe to say we'll see more of him in the coming future for Werder. There's no telling if he'll get consistent playing time going forward, but if he keeps performing, I think he has the confidence of his coach now, and I think we'll definitely see him on the field more. So it's exciting. It's great to see. I'm happy for him.
Is John Brooks once again our best central?
Hey, Brooks.
He's got to be healthy to be our best center back.
Help, yes, but I mean, in my view, he still is. So that game in Costa Rica aside, dude's awesome. So, what do we expect from John Brooks going forward?
Yeah, well, he's out with a knee injury right now. I heard he is in some sort of training. They were very vague on their Twitter account. He's not in first team training, but he's been rehabbing, I guess, his knee recently, and they hope to have him back soon. But they still haven't given like a timetable. So
it's
hopefully
supposed to be this season, though, right? Yeah,
I didn't hear that, but if you've heard that, then maybe it is. Yeah.
Who knows what I've heard?
I've just heard a very indefinite time, so I didn't know, when to expect him back. But it's not good that he's been out pretty much all year. He's only played, I think, in 7 games as it is in the Bundesliga. So that's not good after making that big move, this past summer to Wolfsburg. It was supposed to be kind of his season to show that he's worth that price tag, show that he's one of the best defenders in the league, and he hasn't really shown that. He hasn't been able to show that. So kind of disappointing, but.
The new guy, to all the people asking, the new guy is our visitor, Austin Van Truren. Did I get that right?
You got it right, yeah.
All Absolutely. Right, cool.
So you guys
from
know
who Americans and Young Americans Abroad. So
that's right, yeah.
You can check him out. And he's here to help us discuss some of the young Americans in the Bundesliga and maybe across Europe. But everybody wants to know why you're so happy, Austin.
I always smile. I don't know.
That's because he hasn't hung out with us enough.
Are we that? Have we been that grumpy lately? I mean, we probably have since like October 10th, thereabouts. Where should we go next?
Day which will live in infamy.
We've got a few other guys playing in the Bundesliga. Timmy Chandler. I don't know that we'll ever see him with the national team again, but
maybe
talk about Timmy Chandler if you want.
Yeah, so he's been playing more on the left recently as like a left wing back. So that might actually, help us out for the men's national team. We kind of need a left back at the moment, in my opinion. But yeah, he's been playing great. He's gotten, I believe it was 2 assists in the last 5 games. So he's really producing from that left wing back position. And Frankfurt right now are 4th in the table, tied with Dortmund for 3rd. So it's exciting to see Timmy Chandler playing so well, and also to see Frankfurt right at the top of the table in the Champions League position. I think we should maybe give him another shot. I know we keep saying this, and this is a reoccurring point, but we'll see what coach we get coming up here, and maybe if he fits in the system, or if it makes sense, maybe we try him out again. But I think his play has warranted it. But like I said, we've given him a lot of opportunities already.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been the guy who's great in first club teams and crap when he comes to the national team. But like you said, on the left, we could really use him opposite DeAndre. We
are kind of in need of a left back.
We are.
Well, and
of course, he sort of falls into that group of. I mean, he's not 28 yet, so it's not. Although he's almost 28, so
yeah, he's 27.
He sort of falls into that group of guys who I've said, I just think they're too old to really continue with them, because ultimately, will they be there for in 2022? You could say the same of Aron Jóhannsson. I just feel in his case that maybe he's had a late resurgence and we give him a chance. Timmy Chandler, I'm afraid, has had his opportunities. He's had a couple good games. Every once in a while he has a decent one, but for the most part, his best performances have all come in the Bundesliga, and this season seems to be perhaps his best. So it's, I mean, I don't wish ill for him, like good for him, but I don't think I'm not really expecting we're going to see him get called up again for the U.S.
I guess I'd take the opposite approach. Depends on who takes over in charge of that team. Might be able to bring it out of him with the national side. Maybe the switch to the left. Maybe the switch to the left will be a good home for him, where he won't constantly be looking. It'll be a set spot he can be fit in there. I mean, hell, we had DeMarcus Beasley in camp, and he's 600 years old. a 30 or 31-year-old Timmy Chandler in the next World Cup. That's not unheard of, or that wouldn't even be that. He should still be fine at that point. Injuries obviously would be the one thing, but maybe a new coach, maybe a new attitude that'll bring it out of him.
It's certainly not unheard of, but I mean, on the right, he's not gonna replace DeAndre short of some major injury or something. So
there's a debate going on in the chat now, guys, about who our best player is.
Best player, period?
Period,
Ooh.
yeah.
Well,
right at this moment.
They're saying all time, got to be right. Oh no, they are saying current best player. Yeah, they're saying current best player. Jules says it's Brooks. Pulisic is number 2.
No, it's Pulisic.
I would say Pulisic, but
yeah, I'd probably still go with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's
at the moment at least. Yeah.
Brooks in the Copa America was ridiculous. Like, just absolutely incredible. One of the best defensive performances I've ever seen.
That Paraguay game, God, if I could say that word, in Philadelphia, he was amazing. That was I still say that was the single greatest defensive effort I've ever seen by an American player.
Yeah, you went out and bought his jersey after that.
I did. I bought it in the black specifically because that's what we wore at that game.
Is probably the reason why he's broken right now.
Perhaps.
Chris, you seem to have that effect on people. But comparing Brooks and Pulisic, that's kind of like saying who's a better player, Mike Trout or Clayton Kershaw. They do such different things. You really can't compare what they do and say which one's better at this point, as an overall thing. At least that's in my opinion.
I mean, if you're picking like schoolyard soccer, though, if you're drafting, I'm taking Pulisic first overall. But yeah, I mean, you're right. They do very different things. It's not like it's not as easy to compare. Have we covered it? Is there anybody else we really want to discuss? Fabian? We should probably discuss Fabian. He may be done with the national team as well, but
yeah,
I think he's got to be done.
Yeah, there's not really much to discuss right now. Hasn't been playing for Mönchengladbach. Not even sure if he's injured still. I haven't really been keeping up with him just because I know he hasn't even been in the 18. So I wish I could give you a better update. But he's kind of one of the players I've kind of fallen off on. I haven't really seen much about him. And
I think he was our best player 3 years ago, probably overall.
Yeah, probably true.
Up there, he was up there. Yeah.
Was he a case, Pat? Was he a case though that because they couldn't really settle on a home either at right back or right midfield, that he never had the impact on the national side that he possibly could have had they put him in one spot? Do you think
it would have helped? I mean, he even complained about that, where he didn't know if he wanted to be a back or a midfielder, or he knew he wanted to be. I believe he wanted to be a midfielder.
He did,
yeah. They viewed him better as a back, and Chris and I always thought you should have your best player playing midfield, if anything. So, but I think we've seen the last of Fabian probably for the national team. I mean, who knows? We think in terms of what are they going to be doing in 4 years, but to some degree you have to get qualified, and some of these guys might be able to help us qualify,
get through the CONCACAF.
Yeah. The League of Nations or whatever it's called. Some of these guys might be able to help us qualify, but won't be there in 4 years. And so, there's a spot for some of these guys, even if they are getting up there in age, I think. But with Fabian, I don't know.
Well, and I think part of it, Pat, is that it's been, I know, I forget who did the article about it, like that we're getting out of that dead generation, and these 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, there's a lot of talent that's upcoming. So we keep looking at it saying, these are the guys who are going to feature prominently, because this, for lack of a better term, dead generation should be wrapping up their careers at that point, or that maybe that's the end of the gap, the Michael Bradleys, the Josie Altidore, Fabian Johnson, and guys in that like. But I think you're right. They do have a role to play. And as we move further technologically with training and so on and so forth, some of these guys may feature whether you realize it or not and still be a prominent part. I tend to think you're probably right that most of them won't, but I'm guessing there's going to be one or two surprises. And let's face it, DeMarcus Beasley is going to be on the roster again anyway.
I really hope. I absolutely think Josie Altidore
appearing in his 14th World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think that all of that crew is dead. They may seem tainted to a lot of people because they didn't qualify, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Michael Bradley again. So get away from Germany a little bit, but I don't think all of those 28 on ups are done with the national team. Now, will they make the next World Cup? No, except for maybe DeMarcus. But I don't think they're done yet.
I don't think it's impossible. I think you're probably right. I just think that the best thing for everyone is probably to move on, because is it best to have guys over 30, or is it best to have more talented up-and-comers?
And that's the problem we ran into, where we went with all the older guys for so long that we didn't have up-and-comers.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at the fact that our best World Cup performance, barring 1930, is 2002, when Donovan, Beasley, John O'Brien, these guys were all, effectively kids still.
Yeah. True. All right. Is there anybody left in Germany we need to discuss, guys? Anybody? Do we want to talk about Julian or anybody in the second Bundesliga?
There are some players that I was going to bring up who appear in Germany maybe a couple times in the last century. If I have to make a World War II joke. How about I want to bring up Tim Weah playing for PSG.
Yes.
Okay.
The dude actually played.
We were just talking about how he's never going to play.
I know. We were like, oh, come on. You're not going to make the field in a team with
Not only
Neymar.
did he play, he almost scored.
Yeah.
What are the chances the president of Liberia successfully talks his son into playing for Liberia and not the U.S.?
I did like
How committed is he to us?
What article? It's like Vice Sports or something. When they were doing the coverage of it, he swore he's 100% American.
Yeah, good.
So works for me.
Still, the scary thing is we can't cap tie anybody until the 2019 Gold Cup. So, unless there's a qualifier coming before that, I don't know how the new League of Nations schedule works.
Until that schedule is confirmed, there's no way to know for sure. But I think that's pretty much what's accepted as the next opportunity.
So there it is. he played. We stand corrected. It wouldn't be the first time.
The funny thing is he actually called it this past fall after the U17 World Cup. In an article, he said his goal was to play this year, and people thought he was kind of crazy. So it's kind of crazy to see that he has that confidence. I don't know.
Yeah, you can kind of see it on the field too. Like when you see that dude play, he plays in a very, very confident way. So that's something that we definitely need. We need to talk about SheBelieves, because we actually last year we had an international incident on the show when we did not congratulate the French enough on their victory to suit the French viewers who were tuning in. This year, the French will not be winning the SheBelieves Cup. It will be either the U.S. or England. The way it worked out, it's kind of a final, even though it's a round-robin tournament. They play tomorrow night. Do we expect the U.S. to win?
It's a good question. I mean, if you look at, I guess it depends on which team is the real France team in this tournament and which team is the real U.S. team in this tournament. Because we looked a lot better against Germany than we did against France, where, it was only a 1-0 win against Germany, but at least we, maintained possession. We did, we were still playing our game, so to speak. In the France game, I would say we were kind of lucky to pull out a draw there. And France against England looked horrible. So, if I assume France isn't as bad as they were in the first game and maybe not as good as they were in the second. So then you have to think that it's a little more even. The U.S. and England, come on, all 4 teams are in the top 6 in the world. So there's a bit of a level playing field there. Anyway, I don't know what to expect there. On the one hand, I would say the U.S. hasn't rotated its roster very much. They did, at least there's a 4-day break this time. I'm trying to think what that works out to. So there's time for recovery. Well, I was just trying to think, was the game Saturday? I was like, I remember it on TV, but I can't remember if that was Saturday or Sunday. The weekend runs together to me. I don't know.
It had to be Sunday. It was Sunday, I think, because it was Friday, Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Was the problem that we played at Red Bull and there were too many French immigrants in the crowd? That
I was going to point out that much like when the men's team played at the last time they played at Red Bull, it was not a strong performance by the home team.
No, but
do we blame Chris for this? Then the fact of you guys went to Red Bull once, Chris has been there, therefore it's cursed going forward.
I mean,
we won when we were there, though.
We did. We beat Turkey when we were there. So
yeah.
I'm still blaming Chris just because it's an easy scapegoat.
Fabian and Bradley had like a beautiful give and go to score a goal, beat Turkey 2-1, I think it was. But yeah, so it's hard for me to say what to expect tomorrow because I still can't tell. The U.S. has been so questionable, I guess you could say, inconsistent in the last year. It's like just when you think we're a good team again, we kind of look like crap. When you think maybe that's what we are now, we're just kind of crap, and we're becoming sort of like the men's team where we're getting found out because the rest of the world's getting better. Then we sort of put a game together. So I don't know what the hell to expect. It's a mystery to me.
Yeah, but that's kind of. I was going to say,
I try. That's what I get paid for.
As sad as that analysis is, that's pretty well spot on with really since the World Cup how they've been, though. Like Chris said, it's like it's inconsistent. Then they pull a performance out, and then they kind of go back to this mediocre, a little better than mediocre type play. And maybe part of it is that when they step up and play good team, because the good teams they play are few and far between, it's a little harder to keep up with that in some senses. I don't know. I guess, and I didn't see the England and France game. I saw the final score. I watched it for about 2 minutes, but how much could you say the conditions in Columbus played a factor in that?
I don't know if I would necessarily. I mean, my problem anytime you put conditions on a game is that like both teams should
They're both
more or
playing in it.
less experience it.
Yeah.
You know, I understand when it's like, okay, you're a team that's from like a really hot area and you're playing in a really cold area, and in that case, sure, the home team has an advantage. I understand that, but when it's like when both teams are traveling, you know, it's a third. Like you know, it's
a neutral
not home
spot.
for either one. It's a neutral. Thank you, a neutral spot, and both teams are experiencing the weather. Both teams are experiencing the field conditions. To me, that should be a wash then, but I don't know. We'll see.
And I guess maybe
I'm wrong, but
no, and I think you're right. I was thinking once they got down 2-0, it was easier just because the weather was shit. It was easier just to pack up and call it a night. And therefore, it turns into 4-0 as opposed to
maybe
continuing to, at that point. I guess that was more of kind of what I was going for. Or wasn't the wind pretty vile that night?
Yeah, sure, yes, I think.
But I remember hearing commentary about that during the U.S. and Germany game, like playing into the wind versus the wind at your back and so on. And I was wondering if that maybe factored in as well. I don't know. But
having said that, like I was at the 2009 Dos Acero match where the wind was insane outside the stadium, but everything was fine inside. So I don't know that stadium. I think the way, well, somehow maybe it's the people there because it's not like it's a real solidly built structure. It seems to block the wind all right.
Yeah, it's a bit like a high school stadium with all the aluminum bleachers and everything, but
pretty much, yeah.
It's not that bad inside. So have we covered it? I think we've covered it.
Well, I think so.
Oh, the only other thing I wanted to ask you guys about is that Sunil is no longer the chairman of the 2026 bid.
Yeah, what's up with that?
That's all I know about that. I don't know. Maybe they needed somebody more corrupt to make the payoffs happen to beat out Morocco. I don't know what's going on there. So,
well, what I read was he's still on the board, but it's kind of now the three presidents of each of the three federations are taking more of the lead, and Sunil's kind of stepping back. I'm guessing for Sunil, as long as the check doesn't bounce if they are awarded the 2026 Cup, I guess he doesn't care. But just kind of, is that a good idea, bad? What do you guys think of that? Are they trying to minimize the U.S. a little bit in terms of being the public face of it?
Perhaps that actually
maybe, or is it, is it that Sunil spoke out too much? I mean, he did say some things like, Trump's policies could affect this. Is he, in a sense, by saying things like that, are you in effect giving people in support of the Moroccan bid more ammunition to knock down your bid? That I don't know. Who knows? It's U.S. soccer, so nothing was done in public.
I still can't get over the fact that the people seem to think that it's Trump causing us to not be the front runner anymore, or even if we still are. I don't know that Trump's involved at all, because FIFA didn't have a problem with Vladimir Putin or fucking Qatar.
Yeah.
So, as much as I don't like the current president, he's not as bad as Vladimir Putin. So,
and I'm sorry, Morocco doesn't have the world's greatest human rights record either.
Mm.
But you know what it doesn't have as well? Stadiums. So they have to build them, and that is where a lot of the kickbacks come from. So there's money in building.
Funny
stadiums.
how FIFA works.
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about that. It's going to be who's going to provide the most money when it's all said and done. Is it going to be in the kickbacks like you guys potentially, or is it going to be the fact that you can put 80,000, 90,000, or 70, 80, 90,000 in every stadium where you can look at it and say, hey, Chicago's probably not going to host because it's not a big enough stadium. And that's how much per seat per game. Every game's going to be full. we've watched these last World Cups. Brazil, they were full most of the time. They weren't. I don't think they were 100% all the way through. But how much more are you going to charge per ticket? I mean, and that's what has to be balanced. Is it going to be the kickbacks that are going to win the day, or is it going to be the fact that the shit ton of money they can make by having 48 teams in how many stadiums in the United States are 60, 70, 80, 90,000 plus, and how much more, and they'll be full for every one because, well, they can.
Yeah, we'll see. I still think we'll get it, but I guess we'll find out this summer, right?
We also thought we'd get 2018 or 2022, so
it's fair.
I'm not banking on it by any means.
We'll figure it out. We'll find out. I don't know. It's, you know what? Maybe we're all going to Morocco in 2026. Maybe the U.S. won't make that one either. Who knows? It's, you know what? I expect bigger and better things though. So I think we'll get it. But I wouldn't be stunned if we don't. All right. This is USFanTV. We have a website. It's usfantv.com, and we have all of the social media. We have the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram. We hate Snapchat, and we're never doing it. I haven't said that in a while, but I want to make it clear. We don't like Snapchat. We have YouTube. You know that. And you know that because you're watching this, right? But if you haven't yet, subscribe. We like when people subscribe to the channel. We should go around and have everybody give their final words now. I guess we'll start with TJ.
I really don't have a whole lot of much going on, but thanks for letting me join in tonight. It was great to be a part of it.
Austin?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun. I appreciate it.
We should, if people want to follow you on Twitter, where do they do that?
They find me at Bunda Americans on Twitter or at LionsFan160, which is my personal account. And then we also have a YouTube show of our own, me and a friend, which is Young Americans Abroad on YouTube. Just search that and you should be able to find it.
Check that out too. There you go. And I'm telling you, the Twitter account is on point when it comes to
Thank you.
wanting to know what's going on with our guys over there. You should follow it. Chris.
One quick thing, Christian asked about Chris Durkin. It is cool news that perhaps, or at least the rumors are cool, that he could be moving to Benfica. It'd be cool to see a second American there. I don't know what the validity is to them. I mean, all I've really seen is that the rumors say he could be moving. It's like some Portuguese paper that's reporting it. So I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with like journalism in Portugal to know if they're as corrupt as, say, like some of the newspapers in Madrid or something. But
random enough name that there must be something going on there. Don't you think?
It does seem like,
yeah.
You know, how would this come up? Like, you know, without something behind it. But who knows? So it's promising. You know, it's cool. I'd certainly like to see anytime you're seeing young Americans get a rumor that they're going to a name club anywhere in the world, I think is a positive thing. So in that regard, I'm hopeful it's true. I do think I tend to agree with all these players who say, and you know, well, other people too, who say that it's better to go to Europe and you'll get a chance to play than if you stay in MLS, where pretty much you're going to sit the bench, or you're going to end up in USL or something where quality of play just isn't as good, and you won't make as much money. So you know, it benefits them on both levels.
However, though, you could have your team photo taken with alpacas.
Who did that? I didn't see that.
Vegas. Alpacas were on the field before Freddie Adu made the field.
That's outstanding. All right.
In fairness, the alpacas had a better shot at making the team. So.
The alpacas are considerably younger than Freddie Adu, I would think.
All right. On that note, you're done.
All right. Thanks, guys. You're done.